Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. The OP in our first story gave the best response to "I know the CEO / boss / manager / your mom" that I've ever seen. We'll tell you more after a short pause. So before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. How to lose your appeasement with this one simple trick. So this happened almost 8 years ago, but it's something I routinely bring up to new hires when training / nesting because it's highly effective. Backstory. Our company had an issue with the product. We were aware of it, but still had to do damage control. I was on the phones at the supervisor level and had been handling upset customers who didn't think our appeasement was sufficient, and I thought I'd heard everything. Cue Queen Karen. When a customer requests an escalation, someone in my role has to take it after the customer-facing advisor briefs us on the case. The advisor warned me I had quite the handful here, and I said, "No worries, I got this," and I joined the advisor when the customer was taken off of hold, and we were immediately greeted with, "Effing took you long enough." Due to the issue overwhelming us and management only approving overtime that day, we had a 45-minute escalation queue, and our 5-minute briefing time had been reduced to 3 minutes. So this customer had been waiting around 48 minutes to speak with me. I was introduced and the advisor left the call. This is where the fun begins. Me. "Hello, customer. Customer. I know the CEO and I'm a shareholder. I know my rights, and if you don't give me what I want right now, I'll hang up this phone and you will be fired." Me. "Okay, I apologize if you feel our appeasement offer is insufficient. I can escalate your case to see if we can grant an additional appeasement, but I would need at least 48 hours to see what can be done." Customer. "I know the effing CEO. I can call him right now and have you fired. So do it now." In this moment, all my frustration and rage boiled over, and instead of screaming her stupid, I decided to call her bluff. Me, after pausing to regain my composure, "Ma'am, I can clearly see you're very important, and since you've clearly stated twice that you have a far more effective path of escalation than any I can provide, I feel it best that you follow your escalation path." Silence for a good 30 seconds, followed by, "What?" Me. "You said twice during our conversation you can speak directly with our CEO. My escalation path ends far below the CEO or any other senior officer in the company, so I think it's best you follow your escalation path." Realizing she screwed up, she tries to walk it back. Customer. "No, you see..." Me. No. I simply cannot allow you to continue down this path when you have a far more effective way to resolve this issue. I'll make sure to note this in your case and on your account so you don't have to bother with our less effective escalation path in the future. I hope you have a great day." Click. In case you're wondering what happened, she filed a formal complaint when she called another advisor who saw my notes and complied with her request. My manager thought it was hilarious and took the extraordinary step to call her and ask why the customer was bothering her staff when she could have dealt with the CEO directly and gotten her preferred resolution. The customer was dumbfounded that we actually believed her and whined about getting the appeasement. My manager held the line on denying appeasement and advised the customer to choose her words more carefully going forward. So yeah, if you call tech support and say you personally know the CEO of the company, you may get an advisor I trained who'll close your case and refer you to your escalation path. And our second story. "Ma'am, those are his knees you're smashing into." Did you know, with enough gentle yet constant pressure, one could push a reclined airplane seat back up from behind? Works better on seats that someone tried to already do it on. I was flying to North America from Europe last year and had the very last seat on the aircraft. All the way at the back, aisle seat, but still with a wall at my back, which meant I could not recline. I chatted up with the flight attendant that was sitting in the galley as people were taking their seats, talked about our day and such. I'm tall, so this seat was a snug fit. I tried to make the best of my troubles and get comfortable. This usually means my knees go out as far as they can, and I cross my feet on the ground below my thighs so I can lower the tray flat if needed. You kind of have to contort into these sardine can seats. Once people got seated, older lady in front reclines her seat. Oof, my poor knees didn't see that coming. I immediately pull back to release pressure from my knees. This lady's gonna be trouble, I thought. So with my back straight in my seat, my thighs straightened out, my knees bent at 90 degrees, I slowly started pushing back with my hands at the sides of her seat. Slowly but surely, it started going up. A voice over the loudspeaker announced we were getting ready to take off and asked everyone to buckle up, put away their tray tables and seats in the upright position. She did so. I didn't want her to lower it again at cruising altitude, so I reset my position. Back straight, thighs straight, and knees at 90 degrees. In this position, my knees are so high up on the seat in front that I can't lower my own tray table, but the person in front has nowhere to recline their seat either. At cruising altitude, seatbelt sign came off, and that was the ding for her to drop her seat again, or at least try to. I was steadfast in my determination for a more than terrible seating experience. She barked out, "Stop kicking my seat," and flagged down a flight attendant. The flight attendant I was talking to earlier arrived. She exclaimed that I kept hitting the back of her seat and demanded he tell me to stop. He looked over to me at my sitting position where my knees were in relation to her seat, then back at me. I shrugged and pointed at my knees. "Ma'am, those are his knees you're smashing into. You can't recline your seat because there's no room to do so," and walked off. Her husband peered back at me and mouthed the word, "Sorry." To me, it looked sincere, but he didn't want to upset his backcrap wife by apologizing out loud. A few minutes later, I decided I'd show her the monster sitting behind her. I got up to grab a snack from my bag in the overhead bin, all while keeping an eye on her, ready with a retort. She snapped her head to the right. I could see the scowl on her face, ready to throw an insult my way. Instead, she was met with my junk squarely in her face. I made sure to poke it out a bit too, but no thrusting motion, just a slight protrusion from my hips. Her head slowly turned to face the front again. She never once attempted to lower her seat for the rest of the flight. And our last story. The owner thought he could screw with a 23-year-old kid out of less than $2,000. This happened about 8 years ago. I just finished trade school and was applying to various shops but hadn't had much luck. Through a forum I'm on, I was offered a job as a spotter for a duck hunting lodge for the season. I was very interested, but I told them that I had an application out for work in my trade and I couldn't promise them I'd be able to stay the entire season. No problem, they said. We agreed on $150 per day, plus the cost of fuel I burned in my truck while working for them, as well as room and board. I drove 9 hours from my hometown to the hunting lodge, and we kicked off the season. It was an okay gig, but quickly got old. I'd spend 8 to 10 hours a day driving rough back roads, locating birds, making contacts with farmers, and getting permission to hunt areas. I was bored with it, but was determined to stick out the season or until I had a job offer in my trade. In the first 2.5 weeks, I racked up 4,000 kilometers on my truck and had burned about $500 in fuel. All receipts submitted to him and scanned to my own computer for records. It was right around then that I got a call from a shop. I had to be in town for work in 3 days. The town was a 12-hour drive away. I went to the lodge owner and explained that I'd gotten a job and had to leave. I apologized for the short notice, but agreed to work the next day's hunts, shortening my timeline even more. He said there was no problem with it and that he was happy I landed a job. He explained that due to the way the paychecks were cleared, that I would be gone before he could hand me my check. I gave him the address of the place I'd be staying, and he agreed to mail a check consisting of about $1,500 to $1,800. I finished up the hunts, thanked him for the opportunity and experience, and hit the road to start my new life. I landed the trade job and settled in quickly. About 3 weeks in, I still hadn't seen that paycheck from the lodge owner. To make a long story shorter, I called and emailed the lodge owner at least a dozen times over the next 2 months. I endured excuse after excuse and gave more than enough leeway. Finally, I had enough. I wrote off the money, but I was hungry for revenge. I logged on to the hunting forums, named the lodge and owner, and explained in simple point form detail what had happened. 3 days later, I get an angry email from the lodge owner demanding I take the post down or he'll sue for slander. Here's where it gets good. What he didn't know is that during that 3 days, I'd gotten multiple PM messages of support from forum members who'd been cheated in various ways by this guy. One of those guys just so happened to be a collections agent. This collections agent had informed me that the lodge owner wasn't far from bankruptcy and didn't have a pot to pee in. That, plus the fact that I had documentation proving I hadn't been paid, meant no lawyer would touch him. So I told the lodge owner that I would remove the postings on one condition, that he send me my pay within 14 days or I do more than post on a forum. He relented. 14 days went by and no pay. 3 months went by, no pay. I went back to my hometown on holidays and made a day trip to the hunting and fishing store that I'd not only worked at, but that I'd managed for a while. Managed. I know the product reps. I know the suppliers. I had some very wealthy clients as personal friends. See where I'm going? I went in on the day the reps and suppliers did their business. By chance, my wealthy client friends were there too. In summary, the lodge owner used to buy a certain brand of shotgun ammunition by the pallet, bulk purchasing pricing, and resell it to his clients for a profit. He can no longer purchase that brand of ammunition. The lodge owner was pro-staff for a certain brand of hunting product. He's no longer pro-staff. The lodge owner can no longer get discounted guiding insurance through the Guide Association. He's been blacklisted. And here's the best part. In this area, a guide buys gun days from the government. He's only allowed to guide on these days. If he can't fill them with clients, he's out a significant amount of money. My wealthy friends were pissed. Now we're talking wealthy as in, hey man, I want a rifle. Best you got in stock? $8,000? Deal, I'll pay cash. By the way, got a $4,000 scope to put on it? Cash too, kind of wealthy. All three of them called the lodge owner. All three of them booked 2-week hunts, one after the other. They booked the lodge owner's entire 6-week session, paying the $500 non-refundable deposit. All three canceled their hunts less than 24 hours before they started. They were each out $500. I heard through the grapevine that the owner hadn't been able to fill the slots on such short notice. He was out thousands, if not into the 5-figure region, as a 2-week hunt is or was up to around $6,000 plus. I bought each one of those clients a nice bottle of scotch next time I went home, and to this day we have a good laugh. The lodge owner thought he could screw with a 23-year-old kid out of less than $2,000. He never thought that kid would have connections to not only cost him far more than that, but also nearly ruin his business and his reputation. He deserves it for ducking his responsibilities. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.